right, we're about to hear from our featured speaker, Brock Dethier. He has been here for about 18 years. I've known him the entire time. He's a fabulous human being and a great colleague, and I just feel fortunate to know him. His new volume of poetry is called Reclamation. He'll be reading to us from that, and I think there may be even some surprises, instrumental-like. Okay, so here's Brock.
Thanks, Marina. Marina was one of the first 2 or 3 people to befriend me in Utah, though these many years ago, and I've always felt grateful for that. And here she is doing nice things all these years later. Thanks also to Star, as always, leading us, making sure we get here twice a month. Great stuff. And to Mitch, who I think in a few minutes is going to do a little sound work. Thanks, of course, to the library. And to those in here who have helped me with my poems over the years, which include quite a number of people. And special thanks to the taxpayers of Utah, who I think in a roundabout way paid for my sabbatical a couple of years ago, which allowed me to make this stuff into a book. So it's easy enough to write a poem when you have no time at all, but it's really hard to put a whole book together. And I also need to give a special thanks to the editors of Sugar House Review, who published a couple of the poems in this book, but did not make it to the acknowledgement out of pure human error. And the irony is that I'm the proofreader for Sugar House Review. So it's a particularly painful error for me to make. If you don't know Sugar House Review, you should subscribe. You should send stuff there. It's run by 4 people, 3 of whom were our students in our poetry classes 15 years ago. And it's now a very classy poetry review. So good thing to know about. As Marina said, I do have books back there. I will sell them for $10 a shot. If you really want me to write something messy in it, I'll do that, but I hate that because my handwriting is so bad that it immediately ruins a nice, cover page or whatever. Also, swag. I brought some of my kids' tapes, which I'm trying to give away free. I've got hundreds of them. Nobody has a cassette player anymore. Anybody who wants, there's 2 different tapes. You can take any number of them. I've got many more at home. I actually think that that's the thing that I've done and probably in my life that I'm most proud of. But it's it's kids stuff. It's kids music. So, as most of you know, I read on Tuesday up at the university library, and I said then that I was going to try to make this reading as distinct from that one as I could. So in that one, I tried to give a sense of the overall book, the movement of it, and what reclamation means in it. In this one, I figured that the audience here is interested in writing, either listening to it or doing it, or you've got something to do with writing, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So I'm going to read the section from the book that's about writing, called The Horns of Perception. I'm just going to focus on that. And I'll try to explain a little as I go along. One other thing. You may be wondering, yes, I lost a tooth last night, so that's why I probably sound weird too, but we don't have the camera here.
Yes, we do.
Where? Oh! YouTube has got me. I was thinking it was right up there. Anyway, so bear with me on that. Oh, and I need glasses too for doing this. So this first poem is an attempt to try to figure out where the original impulse to create something came from. Where's the original artistic impulse? And my poetry group will not be surprised to know that it has something to do with sex. So this is called Portrait of the Romantic Songwriter in Kindergarten. To put us to nap, Miss Mandy would read to us. Her voice warm honey poured down my spine, light fingers drawing letters on my sun-baked back, my legs vined around the playground pole, sliding up, clawing back, sliding down, clawing back up. Tingle linking music, Miss Mandy, the smell of the canvas cot. Then she would play, How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? A hit in 1957 and my first pop love. The phonograph in the pressboard box took only 45s and scratched on at the end until Miss Mandy picked up the arm. Sometimes I'd fuss in hopes she'd whisper my name. I think that was the beginning of my doing things to try to get women's attention. Although no doubt I've been doing that earlier. So the next one's called Genesis, and it's my attempt to try to talk about how I get ideas, where they come from, and the central image is what I call the brain belt, which is just belt going through the brain with all this junk on it. And the idea is that I think the difference between normal people and writers is that normal people just let the brain belt go by all day, they don't pay much attention to it, and writers will have some kind of mechanism that when something interesting goes by, they grab it, they jump on it, they do something with it. So, Genesis. The brain belt is a blur. Hair knot cliches, soggy tissues and old saws, paper scraps of song lines badly remembered, rivers of paper from glassine to glossy, coupons and inserts still pouched by grocery ads, disposable ideas and diapers, the mundane mile after mile of bent paper clips, day camp rules, shampoo bottles and imitations of McEwen. Suddenly a sensor trips, the belt spouts a tiny flat button, once the eye of a black cotton doggy whose satiny under ear soothed my earliest cheek. I tend to be an autobiographical writer. I kind of give up on the distance between poet and speaker most of the time because, you know, why not admit it? Yeah, that's me, that's my doggy. And I think the advantage of that is authenticity. I know that doggy existed and had a really nice, smooth under ear. You know, I felt that probably way too much when I was a kid. And so I can use that detail with full confidence that really worked. There really was such a thing. And I'm not sure I can make it up with that same confidence. Next one's about kind of writing that some of you may get engaged in, ghostwriting. I probably earned the best living of my life as a ghostwriter for business people and management gurus and this kind of thing. It's an interesting job because the more money you make, the smaller your name becomes in the credits until it just disappears entirely. So this is about that. Ghostwriter. I write for ghosts, phone voices, people I would not recognize, though my name's in their acknowledgments. I write about ghosts, perfectly informed consumers, enlightened CEOs, benevolent monopolies. I write to ghosts, eager and expectant managers, an information-hungry electorate, sensate editors. Nasty cuts there. I write as a ghost, self-correct, self-erase. They say I'm a very good ghost. I can see it now in my own face. This next one is about stealing other people's stories. And it's, I'm very fond of it because it does it again. It talks about stealing this. One of my best friends in the East is named Jack. And I stole his story, made it into a short story, which got published, and I think is now maybe my best published short story. And then to write this poem about stealing somebody's story, I stole it again. So I'm retelling and getting more mileage out of Jack's story. So this is the way writers work. You know. My friend's story. Older brother was different, didn't get along, didn't go to school and got kicked out of scouts, wet his pants when he did wrong, made awful animal noises when mad, and one day they drove their 50s station wagon to a big building on a hill and left without him. My friend realized he hadn't seen his brother for years when the Institute reported he'd stuck his head between bed slats and broken his own neck. My best published fiction told that story. Now I'm telling it again, each time ignoring the original confidence. Would my friend Jack? Why not name him? feel assaulted by the unauthorized revelation, or relieved to get the story out in a way he never could. Like most stories, this one is about one image, one feeling in the bowels, small and already carsick, gazing back at the receding stone building, wondering when your turn would come. This is the one the section is named after, The Horns of Perception. It may seem like sort of a philosophical issue, but it gets to me all the time. You know, are we supposed to be experiencing or writing about the experience, and can you do the two at the same time? And if you're thinking too much about writing about it, then you're ruining the experience, or you know, if you don't think enough about it, then you don't get it down. And I don't know how to come down on it. But The Horns of Perception. Should I sit on the back porch, rock, watch leaves shudder and slap the wind, sensory perceptor of the present, thinking of now, meta-now, self-perceiving nowness? Or should I screen the world, write about yesterday for tomorrow, from the chaos of experience make on a page indelible lies that might mean or be? This is one that I imagine everyone in the room should probably take to heart, because I've been in a lot of writing groups, and the rule for all of them has been you cannot dump on your own story. You're not supposed to say anything bad about it. But that doesn't stop people. They always go, well, this isn't really very good, or, you know, I just started this 5 minutes ago, or, you know, that kind of thing. So I think writers have a tendency to, as I call it here, call in their own coordinates. And this has a little blurb at the beginning to try to explain it. This is the blurb. In the early years of air warfare, spotters on the ground would call in the target's coordinates, but sometimes they would mess up and give their own, and therefore get bombed, right? So the writer calls in his own coordinates. This doesn't deserve much time, says he, and they, agreeable people, agree. This is one that I realize is now will mean nothing to this generation of writers, because it's based on postal submissions. Now you submit to magazines, you do it almost entirely online, right, with Submittable. You used to send in, inside the envelope that was going to the journal, you can enclose your own envelope addressed to yourself with a stamp on it. It was called Self-Addressed Stamped Envelope, or SASE. I'll do this with my class, I guess, on Tuesday. This poem started off being 25 or 30 lines long, and it stole the title from Marvelette's song, Please Mr. Postman. It was all about how traumatic it was to go out to that mailbox every day and open it up and see if there was an envelope addressed in my own handwriting. I knew it was a failure. You know, there was somebody had turned me down. And so I just came to hate envelopes addressed in my own handwriting, and the whole process of going out to the mail was just the big trauma of the day. And so this 30-line thing just, there wasn't much there, but I always liked the idea that this irony that your own envelope and your own handwriting would be so awful. So I finally got it way down to 3 lines and sent it out to a journal that no longer exists, unfortunately, called The Epigrammatist, which just specialized in epigrams and nice short pieces. And the editor sent it back and said, I kind of like this, but you ought to cut it down a little and make it rhyme. You know? And it was like 11 words. You know? So I did what I normally do with criticism. I you know, cursed everything about the critic for 3 or 4 days, and then said, okay, you're right, and started working on it again. So this is what I came out with. SASE. By my own hand, addressed and infected, it festers, rejected. It works, right? Okay. This is called Instructions to My Poetry Group. And it's not exactly what I preach about poetry groups, because my problem with my poems is I tend to not show them to people until I've worked and worked and worked and polished and polished and polished. And it's like there's all these layers of wax buildup or whatever, and the poem's way down there and I can barely see it, at least in my own mind, because it's so polished. And so what I need is somebody to crack that. So that's what I asked for. Instructions to my poetry group. Help me crack this shellac, this yellowing amber. Dull fogged lamination encases my soul. We'll rip back the layers, half-hearted rewritings, to the pith, the mirth, the marrow. Show me the fissures, blue veins of decay, direct the chisel, the spike. For prospecting one leads to tinkering with all. Cracks radiate hidden intrusions, rot long acknowledged but never excised. Yank the failed keystone, tear down the arch. When your chisel taps Rushmore, out Crazy Horse rides. And this one is just a short one called Pause, about, I think, what all nature poems are about. A lot of poems in general, just the desire is to leave a lasting image in the reader's mind. So this is what happens to me. Pause. About to step off the last slab of ledge onto the path that leads into trees. I dally, drink the view, hear the startling gargle of sandhill cranes, spot the huge V in the sky mutating into another, headed now slightly east of north into my memory, where it will wander, unmoored to time, place, or context, but radiant. Okay, a couple more here that are not in that section. I'm guessing we have some adjuncts in the group here tonight. I spent about half of my career being an adjunct. I wrote a poem about them which has been published in a bunch of different places, so evidently it resonates with people in that position. If you don't know what, adjuncts in composition tend to be people who teach a class or two or sometimes 6 at a time, but without benefits, without decent pay, often without offices. They're just at the whim of the university or whatever. So it's called adjunct. With a Bartleby of Arts and a doctorate in denial, I've survived 4 chairs, 3 deans, and 6 or 8 directors. Student butts beyond count have squirmed in my 1 chair. My floor is white with dead letters. My recycling box is always full. Take the stairs to the top, no penthouse here. Hang lefts until you see the end. Where the hallway dies, that's me. King of the dead end, master of intermission, sultan of sour grapes. The ceiling is low, the walls very high, there's a window into a shaft. The perf board's covered with crayoned monsters, tales of freak beheadings. The shelves are filled with books thrown out by those who rose. Read the screed outside my door, genuflect before you knock. In a year, if you're lucky, you'll be on the tenure ladder at the College of Great Benefits, while I'm teaching your replacement how to climb. Let's maybe do a couple more here. So one of the themes that I tried to develop the other day in the other reading was that was about celebration. I stupidly wrote the book back stuff to make the whole book sound like it's trauma and recovery from trauma, but in fact a lot of it is just about maybe the antidote to trauma, which is, you know, to celebrate small things in life. So this is one of the poems that tries to do that. It's called Ode to Unappreciated Body Parts. You, slightly rounded tummy, silken soft and forgiving. So what if you could be harder, flatter, rippled even? And you, 2 small breasts. You make palpable every adolescent's dream, fetching mounds with horizontal nubs. The nipple's an ocean. So, minimal mo, you don't look like a cuke in tight pants? You don't make the ladies cry with pain. Why can't we all accept? You, stop seeing fat where there's only skin and bones. And you, doesn't Schwarzenegger teach you anything about muscle-brain ratios? Dimples, freckles, moles, unite. Challenge the smooth and flawless. Let he who is without zits rub grease on his face. Respect the little toe in the appendix. Coddle the coccyx. And this is the last one in the book, which I think is kind of about the question of what does this all add up to? What's the point? You know, even if we can survive trauma, so what? But it tries to come up with something of a positive end. Post-solstice. There is no solstice in our lives. No start over, no new semester, no return to go. Reincarnation is a slave's sad dream. Days get shorter, dark night hounds, deep frosted woods beckon. The end is nigher than ever and just as sure. So we multiply our souls with rivers, worship the gap between is and will be, between last hour and this, left brain and right, consciousness and its alternatives. Revel in the construction of joy, no matter how unstable. Find ourselves in flow, reach the other side, and cheer. Oh, I forgot to have my... One last thing here. This is my instant audience that my sister here. It also does. So, after we had so many good Helicons last fall, you know, we had people who memorize all their stuff and people who do voices and just all this tricky, clever stuff. I thought, what am I going to do to you know, even that out, just bounce it off?
To convince us to pick up some of these tapes?
Well, maybe, maybe not. Yeah, want to help me with this? So, and this fits in with my general theme of the writing world, because the song I'm going to play, I think, well, might be evidence of a point that my poetry writing students are already probably tired of me saying, which is that you don't need, or you probably can't even find a unique, new subject. Forget it. What you do is use one of those old subjects and put your own stamp on it, so that it's yours, it's meaningful, it's interesting. Because this song is, I mean, the last line of the chorus is, "I'm dying of a broken heart." I mean, what could be more cliche than that, right? But it's my cowboy campfire death wish song. So it's a good one to end, nice low note to end on. And if you know the James Taylor song, "Sweet Baby James," there's a cowboy in that. He's all alone singing about his love. Well, imagine that cowboy like 20 or 30 years later. He's really jaded. You know, he's got thorns in his hands and burrs in his boots and all this stuff. And he's desperate and he's kind of suicidal. But he's apparently been reading W.B. Yeats because he's into the gyre, you know. So the song he writes is called "The Spiral." And if I was clever enough, I would do the warm-up while I said something clever in the microphone, but I can't do both at once. So I'm going to try to get my hands going and see if I can sing this. It's maybe the first time since Jeannie's house that I've played more or less publicly. Can you hear this guitar? Yeah. Take me up, take me up, take me up on the spiral. I've ridden enough today. Take me up, take me up, take me up on the spiral. It's freezing and I run out of pay. Got thorns in my hands and burrs in my boots. Aching in my heart, knock my ribcage loose. Take me up, take me up, take me up on the spiral. I'm dying of a broken heart. Take me up, take me up, take me up in the heavens. There's a star up there where she'll be. Take me up, take me up, take me up. I'm so weary and all I can see is her face. In the fire and the sun and the sky and the stars. Her eyes are like the dark beyond the burning red of Mars. Take me up, take me up, take me up on the spiral. I'm dying of a broken heart. Take me up, take me up, take me up where I'm wanted. I've been treading these stairs for an age. Every step I take I think that I'm a little bit higher. When awake I'm at the bottom in a cage. You can call me a romantic, you can say my hat's too tight, but I'd trade all these damn cattle just to be with her tonight. Take me up, take me up, take me up on the spiral. I'm dying of a broken heart.